Okay, so when you enter numbers in Excel, let's just enter, say, for example, some numbers here, even if we enter it with decimals, or if we enter text, one of the things you'll notice is that it always formats as general. So if you go in, look at this number group within the Home tab, you'll see that it actually shows you what the current formatting is for the cell, right? So as I'm going down, you can see these are all general, and general just basically means format it as a number. If you enter a number, format it as a text. There's nothing special about it. But let's say I wanted to format all these two numbers always with two decimals, right? If I click on this drop down over here, you can see there's a lot of different options. So I could actually specifically choose a number format, and when I do so, watch what happens. This 444 doesn't have decimals, but once I do so, it immediately gets, sorry, I chose the currency. And once I choose number, it actually adds in the decimal. So it becomes 444.0. And there are other options as well. So I could choose a currency. So if I choose currency, so currently this shows as dollars for the currency format. And this actually pulls through from your settings. So just to show you, if you go to your Windows Start and you type in Control Panel, you go into your Control Panel over here. And then I'll just search for region. So I typed in REG at the top. I find the region settings, I go into that, and then under here, you select the additional settings. Under additional settings, you'll see a currency tab. If I go to that currency tab, I'll see that it's actually got the currency symbol set as the dollar. So if I change that to the rand, and then I change that to an R, and I click on apply, and if I now click on OK, and I can actually say apply again, and now OK, and I can close this off. When I get back, it's automatically changed it to rand. So now if I enter in any amounts, let's say we enter in a few amounts, and if I highlight those and I say I want those all to be currency, it automatically picks up the rands. So if you're seeing a dollar, just note that it's actually in your control panel that's related to your overall Windows settings that you've set the currency to be a dollar symbol. Okay, beyond the dollar, however, there's also other options. So for example, let's say I've got some numbers over here, and I want to actually, if I click on the drop down, you can see there is an accounting option, which is very similar to the currency. And then if you had dates, you can actually have different, formats for the date. So let's say we had a date here of, so I just typed it in the short format. But if I click on this drop down, when I typed in a date, just to note, it automatically picked up it was a date. So I click on the drop down, it was on the date format, but I can change this now to a short date, which it's already, or I can change it to a long date. So the long date actually shows hashes because it's not big enough. So if I go between H and I and double click to expand the column, it then actually gives the full format. Remember, a lot of these you have custom formatting as well, which we're going to look at shortly. So if I right click on here and I go to format cells, now I can actually see the different date formats. So you can see there's a lot of different ones. So it shows me here on the top that if I selected this format, this is what my date of 15th of March 2022 would look like. And you can actually cycle through the various formats to see what the options are. You can also manually create your own custom date. So remember, if I go in here into custom and I actually, let's wipe this clean. If you type in DD, that actually stands for the days. Let's say I wanted a slash, I put a forward slash. MM stands for months. So 2 M's will give you the month in numeric format. And if I put YY, it'll actually give it, will put the year. If I put 4 Y's, it'll actually put the full year. So 2 Y's will just show 22. But 4 Y's will show 2022. Okay, if I put 3 M's in there, it actually puts in the month in a shortened form, so MAR for March. If I put 4 M's, it'll actually put it in full. So, so basically 4 M's represents a full month, the full word of it. And then obviously I would want to remove the slashes if I was doing it that way. So I could actually go there and remove that forward slash. So now I've got it in this format of DD, and I say OK, and now it actually changes it that way. So just that's using a custom formatting, so be aware of that. And now when I'm on this cell over here, you can see it tells me that there's a custom formatting being applied. And again, remember, just as to recall, I could also right click and select format cells to go into that custom formatting and see what type I've entered in over there. Or I could also use this expander option over here, where if I just click on that, it'll also open up the same format cells dialog box. Okay, so that's the formatting in terms of numbers, and that's just to make you aware that this is a quick way where you can click on the drop down and you can select something over here. If I type in a number, let's say 0.23, okay, so this rand formatting is picking up from earlier on, but let's say I want to do it as a percentage. I can simply click on this percent option over here, and immediately that basically becomes 23%. I could have done the same also by clicking on this drop down and selecting percentage, but obviously if there's a percentage thing over here, it's much more quicker to do that. Now, you can also increase or decrease the number of decimals. So if I wanted to increase the decimals, I could just click on that 2 times or 1 time. So you can increase, you can see that's increasing decimals and that's decreasing decimals. And that also actually applies to actual numbers. So here, for example, if I go here and I increase the decimal, it would increase it. If I decrease it, it could also, I could decrease it to 0 even. So even though the value is still showing there, 44.33, from a formatting perspective, it won't show the decimals. So it is possible actually using this. Remember, it's not actually changing the actual values that have been entered, but it's just changing how many decimals it's actually displaying from a format perspective. One that I find that I quite commonly use a lot is like, let's say I'm entering a whole lot of numbers, and especially larger numbers. What you often want to do is actually just show the grouping into rands thousands. So if you look at this comma option over here, it's a comma style. And if I click on it, it immediately adds this comma, so it's easier to read that this basically is 86,767,767 Rand. Now without that, it actually wasn't really obvious. So if I go, for example, and I change it to general, that's what the number looks like. So it's just easier to read when you've got the comma separating, you know, into the thousands, so you can read much larger numbers. And the moment you actually select this comma option, it usually adds 2 decimals as well. But if you wanted to remove them, you can simply go and click on this particular icon twice to remove the decimals.